The Williamite War was fought between 1690 and 1691. Also known as the War of the Two Kings, it was waged between the Williamite army of King William III and the Jacobite army of King James II. James was also supported by Louis XIV of France, who in addition to finance provided professional French officers and troops in exchange for Irish regiments who went to France to fight for Louis on the continent. Both armies also consisted of men from many other nations. These included Ireland, England, Scotland, France, Holland, Prussia, Denmark. There were also other Protestants, Huguenots and Walloons. The 17th century was a time of great change in European armies. Firearms were replacing the pike as the primary infantry weapon, and field artillery were becoming increasingly powerful. Musketeers equipped with smooth-bore, flintlock and matchlock muskets provided great firepower, but when confronted with cavalry, they needed to be protected by pikemen. In the 17th century, the solution was found in the plug bayonet. For many years, French and Spanish hunters had jammed their hunting knives into the muzzles of their muskets in order to finish off injured game such as wild boar. The military bayonet is most associated with the French town of Bayonne in the Pyrenees. Bayonne is also famous for its cutlery. The first soldiers to be issued with the bayonet were French fusiliers, and it was the job of the fusilier to protect the artillery on the move. To do this, they were also issued with muskets with slings. This allowed them to keep their hands free so that they could move and emplace the artillery pieces on the battlefield. The plug bayonet had one major drawback. When inserted in the musket, it couldn't be reloaded, and if inserted into a loaded musket and fired, the barrel could explode. The other troops issued with a musket and sling and bayonet were the grenadiers. It was the grenadiers' job to throw grenades, to break up enemy formations, and to storm fortified positions. The word grenade comes from the Spanish word granado or pomegranate. Grenades were between 1 and 2 inches in diameter, hollow iron spheres filled with gunpowder, which were lit with a slow-burning fuse. Grenades were still relatively heavy, and so grenadiers were selected from the tallest and strongest troops so that they could throw their grenades and not injure themselves and their comrades. Grenadiers not only had to have a strong arm, but they also had to have strong nerves and discipline to stay in a position exposed on the battlefield until ordered to attack. In the attack, they had to remember to light their fuses and throw their grenades at the optimum time, so as not to allow the enemy pick the grenades up and throw them back. Grenadiers were used as assault troops to attack positions that had been bombarded by artillery. They had to be intelligent, able to spot an opportunity, and to seize and hold that opportunity with the bayonet and musket. In addition to their grenades, the distinguishing feature of the grenadier was the mitered cap. The cap made the grenadier not only appear to be taller, but also gave them the impression of being more fierce in the assault. As a result, grenadiers were soon considered elite troops. In June of 1691, Athlone was attacked by the Williamite army commanded by the Dutch general Ginkel. Initially, the fighting was concentrated on the bridge over the Shannon. The Jacobites withdrew across the bridge, tearing it up as they went. And then for the next 9 days, under heavy fire, they held off all of the Williamite attempts to capture the bridge. During the bombardment, Athlone became the most heavily bombarded place in Ireland or Britain. 32 heavy artillery pieces and mortars fired 12,000 cannonballs and 600 explosive and incendiary mortar bombs into the town. During the bombardment, the Williamites discovered a ford to the south of the bridge that they thought they could cross. 3 Danish soldiers entered the river and discovered that it was only knee-deep. Ginkel was told, and on the 9th day of the siege, 2,000 elite grenadiers marched into the river up to their waists and assaulted the Jacobite positions on the west bank. The positions had been intended to be demolished by the Jacobites, but due to a misunderstanding between St. Ruth and the garrison commander, they had been left intact. The grenadiers captured the positions and held off all the attempts of the Jacobites to dislodge them. St. Ruth eventually sent 2 brigades to try and dislodge them, but they held on until reinforced. The capture of the earthworks by the Grenadiers meant that Athlone was lost to the Jacobites. I'm historian Tóla Collier, and if you want to learn more about the Williamite Wars or about the social and military history of Ireland, you'll have to visit me at Athlone Castle or at one of the other heritage sites or museums around Ireland where I work. Thank you very much.